Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Zero to Empire podcast. On this episode, I have Yvonne, and she's with the Two Link Coaching.
Mhm.
She's actually going to be talking about how her business started with the coaching, as well as what inspired her and everything that goes with that. So, Yvonne, my first question to you is what actually inspired you to start the Two Link Coaching business that you started a couple years ago?
Um, well, it did start during COVID, like when everything got very crazy. I was working a corporate job, and like most companies, everybody started to downsize. And I come from the real estate and mortgage industry. It really hard during COVID because nobody was buying houses. Some people were refinancing for a while, but that was about it. And so as my company started to downsize, I did not get let go. And so those of us that were left were working a lot. And it just got to be a lot. And there was so much else going on besides the whole COVID thing that my mom ended up passing away probably 6 months behind COVID. It was just a lot happening in my life. And one day I was at work and I was doing something. I was working with some numbers, something I had done 1,000 times in my job. I had no idea what I was doing. I like totally just lost like everything. I was tired, I had a lot of stress. And since I had coached other like new employees, things like that, I had this document that we used that kind of helped us figure out the financial parts of it. And I was like, "I'm gonna bring this out and talk about it." And I was all right. So yes, I was doing a financial figure, doing somebody's income levels for buying a house, and I realized I was doing everything wrong when I had brought out this document. And then I thought, I bet all the other files I had done this day were wrong also. And I kind of panicked. I had my first panic attack at work. I'd never done that before. And I had been in real estate since 2008 and mortgage since 2015. So this was 2020. So I had enough experience to know what I was doing. But I tried not to cry. I don't cry at work. I work from home, so it wasn't as dramatic as it sounds. But I did. I panicked. And so I contacted my boss because I was starting to feel sick. And I was like, I need to take the rest of the day off, which again, I never did. So I took the day off and I just breathed for a minute. I called my doctor and I said, something is not right. I am not feeling right. And it's more than just a panic thing. So she set up some tests and she contacted me when everything was done. And she's like, I know you've had a lot of stress in your life, but has it been more than you're telling me? And I said, well, no, why? And she goes, it looks like you've been living in fight or flight for a very long time. Your adrenal system is completely upside down. I actually had to be put on cortisol to get my adrenal system working again, where most people are fighting cortisol and trying to stop it. I had none left. And so it really made me stop and think, what am I doing with my life? You know, I was trying to handle everything. And so I took a couple of weeks just to breathe. And then when it got time to start looking for a job again, I couldn't find something that I wanted to do. And I knew I didn't want to necessarily go back into the mortgage industry because it was really stressful for me at that time. And having been in this industry for so long, I didn't even know how to figure out what else to do. So this is almost embarrassing to say, but I literally Googled, what do I want to do when I grow up? Because I didn't know how to figure that out. Saying it out loud sounds kind of strange, but it's what I did. And as I did that, I was getting ads and things for career coaches. And I'm like, what is a career coach? So I decided to contact a few of them just to see what they did, what they could do to help me out. And I finally ended up with this woman that I connected with wonderfully, who is in Kansas City, still friends with her today. And we went through all kinds of, the typical things that you do. You revamp your resume, all of the things. And she was constantly sending me jobs because if a really good career coach is looking outside of job boards, so they're getting jobs that other people don't necessarily see. They do a lot of Boolean searches and stuff that most people don't know how to do. So I was applying for these fantastic jobs that I was fully qualified for and not getting any of them. And that had never happened to me before either. So it kind of made me panic a little bit more. 6 months later, not working for 6 months, I finally get a hold of her again. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. She goes, yeah, you're kind of making me feel bad as a career coach. I've never not had somebody get a job in 6 months. She goes, what is it that you're doing when you're applying? And I said, well, I'll be honest with you. Every time I send in an application, I kind of say to myself, I hope I don't get this job. And then I realized that I wasn't doing what I should have been doing to get a job, which is, you have to contour your resume for every application you put in for the job, all those things. And I wasn't doing the work. So I knew that I wasn't ready. So she goes, we've looked at all your assessments, and the common theme seems to be no matter what position you were in, whether it was, just a regular recruit, whether it was a supervisor or something, she said, you're standing out as you were always the happiest when you were helping people. I said, well, that is what makes me happy. That's what feeds me. That's when I felt good. And she goes, well, why don't you consider doing what I'm doing? And I was like, well, there's a thought. So I worked with her for another couple of months, and I got certain certifications so that I could be an effective career coach. And that's really what got me into it. I kind of fell into it, I guess. And I wouldn't say that. Look, 2020 is, hindsight's 2020. So I can look back now and see what led me to it. And I really feel that it was the beginning of me finally finding my purpose. And I think it was really meant to be.
That's solid. And that's a very inspirational story for sure. And it's nice that you ended up just doing your career, like whatever your mentor was doing, and you just matched her. And when did it make you actually pursue life coaching and compare it to career coaching that we discussed before this?
Well, career coaching was great. And as I was helping people find jobs, get promotions, all that, I stay in contact with clients. Even to this day, I am in contact with some of those clients. And a lot of them would still come back with, there's still something more. I need something else. I love my job, but there's something else I need. And so, of course, by this time I had delved more into coaching to figure out exactly what it is and, how to be really good at it. And of course, you stumble across life coaching, and then you start to see all of the famous life coaches and all that. And I thought, that's something that I think I could use to help my clients with. So that's when I started to pursue life coaching as well as adding to my career coaching.
Nice. And you mentioned, or like before this, we talked about how you went through Dave Ramsey's program.
Mhm.
How did that actually shape your coaching style today?
The Dave Ramsey coaching was fantastic. It was the financial aspect. And that's when I went into, when I decided to do the financial coaching is when I did the Dave Ramsey program. And that was it's a very inspirational coaching program. I don't know how else to put it. It really helps you believe in yourself more. And especially since I was changing niches, I think I really needed that because the Dave Ramsey program doesn't necessarily teach you how to do anything financial, but it actually really fine tunes your connection to your clients and how to be a better life coach because a lot of people don't understand that financial coaching isn't just a bunch of numbers. There's so much life coaching that goes into it because you're dealing with life situations that are causing financial problems.
That's very solid. And when it comes to the financial coaching world, most people may not necessarily know what they do. So, how do you actually educate and market to those who might need your help?
Well, the education and the marketing are completely different beasts. The marketing is something that is, you market, that can be a whole industry on its own. Marketing is really hard, and that's what I'm working on now. I mean, even talking to you is part of my marketing. So getting people to know that's what I do. Having been a career coach for a little while, people on LinkedIn, of course, that that's where I got all my clients for career coaching because people are there looking for a job. So they're like, "Oh, can you help me with a job?" So that was a little bit easier. But outside of that, the marketing has been difficult because it's like restarting your career. It is essentially starting a new business. So that compared to educating my clients is really different because every client is different. They come to me for different reasons. Career coaching, they're like, help me get a job, help me improve in my job. It's all centralized to that. Where with educating my clients now, it is solely individually dependent because somebody might come to me and say, I have a lot of spending problems, or I'm getting ready to go through a divorce and I'm going to have one income. I don't know how to handle this. So it's a whole different world.
Oh, yeah, two different beasts.
Very.
And when it comes to like the future plans that you have for being a financial coach, what do they look like?
Just continue to grow my business, help as many people as I can. I have fine-tuned my niche a little bit, so I'm going to be really laser focusing more on that certain type of clientele. But I also do want to start giving back to the community more in this aspect, and I want to start helping more kids in our community because my background comes from a very impoverished background, and so it's important to me.
That's solid. And I'm glad to hear that you're giving back to the community. And how are you balancing that between building a education or a coaching business, I mean, and giving back to the community?
It's actually not that difficult. Coaches don't necessarily work the typical corporate 9 to 5 hours. I mean, you can if you have clients lined up one after the other, but that's pretty rare. It's very draining. Perfect example is last Wednesday, I didn't get off out of a meeting until 9:30 at night. So that's the great thing about coaching. It's very flexible. You work on your schedule and their schedule. It's not necessarily 9 to 5. But when you work with the community, it's usually done more in a group capacity. Like right now, I'm working on a program for kids. I have one that is for ages 7 to 13, and the other one's 13 to 18. And so those are done in group settings. So you can affect a lot more people at one time. So it's an hour at a time here and there for a group versus an hour at a time with individual clients. So it's actually not as taxing or difficult to balance as you might think.
That totally makes sense. And what's a piece of advice that you would give to a new coach just starting out?
I have more than one, actually, if I think about it. I have two. The first one is that if you're going to, you might be going along thinking you know what you're doing or what you want to do. And like myself, you kind of grow and evolve and realize that this is good, but I want something different. And so you might actually change niches, change industry coaching, like I career coach, life coach, financial coaching. You're not a failure if you do that. It's part of learning yourself and learning what you enjoy and what you're passionate about because you might not realize, like when you go to college, you go in, you get your generals done, and you're thinking, I'm going to be a doctor. And pretty soon you're like, no, I want to be a mechanic. Or, you don't know until you try. So don't ever think that you're a failure. Changing those things is really, really normal. And the other part is make sure it's something you love. Because if you don't really love it and you're not super passionate about it, probably not going to succeed. And if you do succeed, it's going to be a lot of struggle along the way because coaching is about service. It is about helping other people. Yes, you do get paid. That's great, but it's not just a job. I mean, this really is something that you should be passionate about if you want to be effective for your clients.
Yeah, passion definitely helps you get through the tough times, undoubtedly. And if you go back to when you first started coaching, what's one thing you would do differently?
Know how to market. That's been the hardest part. The coaching part has been very natural, but I am not a marketing person. Real estate, you have to market, but that's easy. You have a subject, a house to market. That's easy to do, and it's localized. We're on the internet. We're marketing ourselves to the entire United States or actually any Western country because I talk to people in England, Australia, things like that. So you have to understand how to market yourself in a completely different way. And that's probably been the hardest part. So definitely get a little bit of background or do what I did and hire a marketing coach.
Solid. That's great
Coaches need
advice.
coaches.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And where can people reach out to you if they would like your coaching?
I am kind of everywhere, but my website itself is TuLinkU. It's TuLincu.com. It would have been TuLink.com, but somebody already stole it. I don't know why or how, but so it's TuLinkU. Or you can actually look up YvonneClark.com. It'll take you to the same website. I am on LinkedIn under Yvonne Clark or TuLink Coaching, Facebook. I'm all over the place. If you just look at my company, you'll be able to find me.
Solid. Yeah, make sure to go check her out if you want a financial coach. And by all means, thank you for everyone for listening in or watching in for this episode of Zero to Empire. See you on the next one.
Thank you, Have me, Samuel.